Hello. Today we have Devendra Nagle, Dev as we call him, who leads marketing at MSINS, Maharashtra State Innovation Society, to talk to us about MSINS in general and also particularly about Maharashtra Startup Week, which is a flagship startup initiative pretty well known in startup circles. And it's also a one of its kind initiative in India where various departments of the state government, about 10 to 12 of them, actually collaborate with MSINS and the startups who are selected. And this is the maybe one of the few initiatives where government gives like a single window opportunity for startups to work with the government departments as customers. So let's talk to Dave about MSINS and MSW, and also the 2021 applications for MSW is live now. So if you are a startup, please listen to Dave about the various aspects of Maharashtra Startup Week and do apply to the initiative. The last date I think is 15th June 2021. So let's hear from Dave about it. Hi Dave, good morning. How are you doing? I hope
Hi,
you are staying
Srikanth.
safe.
Yes, I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well as well. Good to see you after many days.
Likewise.
Uh,
And thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about our initiatives at the Startup Week and Innovation Society in general.
Thank you, and we are very glad to have you as well. Our partnership kind of dates many years back, so it's always lovely to talk to you and also talk to engage with colleagues, your colleagues from Maharashtra State Innovation Society. My regards to your team members. So, Dev, let's get started. So, maybe you can briefly introduce about MSINS, Maharashtra State Innovation Society first. Why was it set up, and also maybe touch upon a few of its initiatives before we go into Startup Week.
Sure, Srikanth. In February of 2018, the Maharashtra government came up with a startup innovative policy to support the startup ecosystem in the state. Mumbai being the capital, financial capital of the country as well. A lot of fintech startups were already there, but there were some other supports which government felt that it was needed to promote entrepreneurship and innovation in general across the state. So the government of Maharashtra came up with this startup policy, and they decided to bring together a team from private sectors to implement a lot of initiatives which was mentioned in the startup policy. The policy aims to support innovation, entrepreneurship across the state, and ultimately create innovative enterprises which creates jobs in the ecosystem and leads to the growth of the economy. So that's the objective with which startup innovative policy was launched in 2018. And at Innovation Society, we are under the Department of Skill Development, Employment, and Entrepreneurship. We are a team of 15 people implementing various initiatives mentioned in the startup policy. And I would like to highlight some of the initiatives which are in the startup policy. I'll go with like a fairly large projects which we are running. The first one is the incubator network. Across the state, we are funding 17 incubators to the tune of 5 crores each. And this funding will be over the period of 5 years. Incubation network, incubation support plays a very key role in terms of hand holding and supporting startups at a very early stage when they are in need of funding, mentoring, some guidance towards how they can grow their startup. So the government felt there's like a need to set up incubation networks. And we have identified 17 such centers across this. These are all geographically spread and not just centered across the prominent cities like Mumbai or Pune. These are spread across the state, and we are running this funding this incubation center so that we can support grassroots level entrepreneurs bring their ideas
Right.
to reality. So that's a fairly large project for us of the incubation network. Then we also run the Maharashtra Startup Week, which is a flagship program, which we'll talk in detail at a later stage. But essentially, it's a model to enable government and startups to work together. And
Right.
we are also in the pipeline have a initiative called Maharashtra Grand Challenge, where startups will be looking to solve some of the challenges faced by government departments on a day-to-day basis. So whatever their biggest challenges the government department face, they can, get innovative solutions, cutting edge technologies to solve those problems. Another initiative which I'd like to highlight is the financial assistance we provide to startups at early stage. If they have like less than 1 crore of revenue in the past year, these are fairly early stage startups. So we want to support them with their costs, which can help release their working capital. Uh, so we are supporting startups with patent reimbursements cost. For domestic, it's up to 2 lakhs, and for international patent, it's up to 10 lakhs. And also for quality testing, if you are a manufacturing startup, you can get your testing costs reimbursed by government of Maharashtra. So that's also up to 2 lakhs. So these are some of the fairly large initiatives which we are running under the startup policy.
So very interesting. I really like the full spectrum approach in some sense, right from supporting incubation, so originating the enterprises itself through your ecosystems, and then supporting them in their course through go-to-market initiatives. These kind of reimbursing their some kind of expenses like marketing or patents and all of that. So it's wonderful, Dave, to hear these initiatives. I was also super interested to know more about Grand Challenge because I think we haven't spoken about it. And it looks interesting to me because you're taken a reverse approach than let's say MSW, where instead of scouting for startups, you're first scouting for problem statements. And like the advice given to any startups is identify the problem first. So what was the thought process behind Grand Challenge? And yes, look forward to hearing more about it.
Sure. So what in the startup week we have seen is that there's some of the use cases which don't find a good fit in the government departments. And anyways, the government departments, they do face some of their own challenges. So and probably the solutions are not ready, or they are not existing in the market. So the idea behind Grand Challenge is to take some of these problem statements, open it up to the entrepreneurs and innovators across the country, and then invite applications. And if the solution is still not ready, we have made provisions to even fund to develop those technologies. Uh,
Okay.
so because there's already a ready market with the government,
Right.
government has to put in some amount of money initially to develop the technology. And because there's a huge market of public procurement with the government department, if you come up with a good solution, there's always a ready market
Right.
for it. So that's the idea behind the Grand Challenge. We are in advanced talks with two departments, the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board, which is
Right.
committed to three problem statements and the funding to develop some of the solutions around this. And also we are
Right.
working with the Fisheries Department to solve some of their problem statements and challenges.
Right. No, it's wonderful. We talk about new market creation in the scope of private companies, and how they fund a lot of dollars into innovations to bring out new innovations, which opens up new markets. It's heartening to see a government taking a lead in doing this. So not just funding the final procurement, but also at the innovation stage itself. So it's quite wonderful. I look forward to hearing more about the Grand Challenge. But now I think let's talk about the startup week. So thanks for all this information about MSINS and the various things it does. So yes, Dave. So what is the Maharashtra Startup Week? There are several challenges in the country, as you know, run by government, private, corporate, civil society organizations. So what makes MSW unique in some sense, according to you?
Sure. So it's the Startup Week is a very unique initiative in that sense. It's very different in terms of what other government departments, other government entities are running in the state. Is that it's a public procurement model
Okay.
where the winners are not given grants. It's a a work order given to them.
Okay.
So the idea behind is that initially when you have developed a product and you're at early stage, you want to prove your solution works. You want to prove that your product is ready to deploy it. So government wants to come in as a first customer, if not at a later stage, but we want to see how your product can be used by government department, and that adds to a lot of credibility to a startup's portfolio that they have sold to the government. And probably because government is also a very large market, they can also look at implementing their solutions across not just Maharashtra government but other state governments as well. So the startup week,
Right.
in a sense, is that uh, to enable startups at early stage to deploy their products and solutions, and the pilot is funded by the Innovation Society. So the challenge in a public procurement is that as a startup, it's very difficult for you to apply for a tender because there are a lot of barriers when it comes to applying for tender. There's a minimum turnover criteria when you apply for tender. There's a minimum years of experience, and startups, as you know, are like very of young age. They might not even cross that experience criteria, and there's a lot of earnest money deposit, etc. There are some challenges in applying for gender. So what Maharashtra government decided was to eliminate this and enable startups to directly deliver to the government departments. It worked both ways actually. The government department also gets to know the solutions at the forefront of the technology. What are the latest available solutions which are in the market, and implement those within the government department. So what Innovation Society has done is that eliminate the risk of the government department to procure without a tender from the startups. And because it's a competitive product, there's multiple level of screening. The kind of startups we get are of usually a good. They come up with very good solutions, innovative solutions, and it works well for both the parties, the startups and the government as well.
No, this is wonderful, Dave. This is like music to my ears. This is exactly the kind of soft landing I think startups would need against big entity like a government, which typically it shies away from engaging with. So it's wonderful to see the government's intent in enabling this. So what has been the experience so far? By the way, how many departments participate typically in this exercise, and maybe you can also touch upon a couple of case studies that you remember.
Sure. Uh, so every year we select the 24 startups, and these are across 7 sectors, which are priority sectors for government. So agriculture,
Okay.
healthcare, education and skilling, smart infrastructure and mobility. Governance is also one of the sectors where you know different solutions we look at. So all these departments and entities under these departments, they have worked with 72 startups. So we have run this program for the last 3 years, and we have 72 winners who are working with different departments. So I think more than 10 to 12 departments have worked with these startups in the past 3 years, and a lot of pilots have been successful, which I'll highlight in a bit. But another point I want to mention here is that we don't limit these pilots to just Maharashtra-based startups. We allow startups from across India to apply, because the idea behind that is that why should Maharashtra government not benefit from the innovations happening outside the state? So this is also very unique about the startup, that even though it's a Maharashtra government's initiative, we are inviting startups from across India to come forward with their solutions, and only the best solution gets the work order. Uh,
Wonderful.
yeah.
No,
So
that's wonderful to note. It just highlights that how the government wants to solve the problem and perhaps up the innovation kind of capability of the state itself. So by inviting good startups to solve some of the problems, you are in a way, influencing the innovation ecosystem in a positive way. That's wonderful to note. Yes, I'm keen to learn any specific examples that you want to highlight because a lot of entrepreneurs might be listening to this and they would be keen how all this works. Yeah.
sure. So if you see, as I mentioned earlier, that the government probably wants to become the first customer, so that you have some credibility as a startup on your resume. Uh, for example, one startup called VCity. So they are into extended producer responsibility. So basically, this is a
Right.
waste management solution. So they have worked with the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board as a pilot. We funded the pilot through the startup. And the department really liked the solution. They didn't have such a solution existing earlier. So with the pilot, they saw a good success, and then they decided to fund the pilot again with their own tender, which the startup qualified because they have already done a pilot with the pollution control board. So this is the
Right.
model which we are trying to set up, is that once you have a pilot, once you see the results of that successful pilot, the department can procure it through a bigger tender, or the startup can also go out and get work orders from the private sector. For that, I'll like to also highlight one example of Haystack Analytics. It's a IIT Bombay based IIT Bombay incubated startup. They are into whole genome sequencing of TB data. So, as a healthcare startup, the problem or challenge you might face is that access to the patient records, which might not be available. So, through this the Startup Week platform, we enabled sharing of some patient records. Of course, the confidentiality was there to not leak this data. We had all the agreements in place, and on the top of this data, the Haystack Analytics was able to prepare a solution to identify the right you know how do you say right treatment method for a TB patient. So
Right.
as you might be aware that there are 18 types of TB
Mhm.
treatments available, and you don't know where the doctors don't know which one works the best. And
Okay.
they have to try one at a time each. So they have to try 18 times to see which is the right treatment. But through genome sequencing, you can bring it down to say two or three treatments itself, which reduces the efficiency, which reduces the cost to the patients as well. So
Okay.
through this startup week, we did a pilot with the Director of Health Services, which is under the National Health Mission, Government of Maharashtra. And to building upon this pilot, the startup has now launched a solution in 10 countries and across 10,000 pin codes in partnership with ThyroCare.
Oh, this is wonderful. So basically, what you are saying to me is the opportunity that Startup Week gave in terms of access to data sets, patients, enable them to kind of tweak their innovation so that it becomes much more effective and takes less iterations to actually determine which medication to follow, right? And now the same whatever it had developed through this partnership has now been enabled in 10 countries.
Yes.
Okay, this is wonderful to hear. No, I think the great examples. It might also give some indications to the applicants to understand what to expect from this initiative. That brings me to and understanding. I'm coming to the application part itself, right? So the 2021 edition is now live. So can you talk about that and which startups can apply? What are the broad criteria and also maybe five or six frequently asked questions that you typically get, and also if you can touch upon the process. Yeah.
Sure. So the applications are open now for the startup week. The last date is 15th of June. So as I mentioned, the startups from across India can come and apply because we are looking for the best solution to solve a particular problem. And early stage startups, so we are not accepting startups at an idea stage. You must have a ready solution or a product to be deployed. You need to have a proof of concept or a minimum viable product to come into the startup week because it's essentially a procurement model where the government will procure your services in the next 5 to 6 months. So early
Right.
stage startups who have a ready solution or product can come and apply. What a lot of question people ask is that I don't have a firm as of now, but as a proprietor also you can come and apply. But if you win the startup, you have to register as an entity. So all the
Right.
registered entities, DIP recognized startups can come and apply for the startup fee. Uh,
Okay.
the the process is fairly simple. You visit our website MSINS.in. There's an application form which you fill, and with the help of screening partners, we uh, shortlist these ideas to top 100. These top 100 startups. Earlier, before the pandemic, they used to come to Mumbai and present their solutions to a set of jury panels, which was also sector-wise. And uh, out of these top 100 startups, we shortlisted the top 24 as winners, and each of the top 24 winners gets 15 lakhs of work orders each. And the process doesn't stop there for the startups and for us. Once they are declared as winners, we handhold them to deploy this their solutions into various departments. So we also support them in terms of meeting with the right officials, finalizing the scope of work, doing the agreements between the departments, and also essentially ensuring that the solution is delivered and the payments are done on time. So we handhold these startups for the next 6 to 12 months. What is required to implement these pilot solutions.
No, wonderful. And no, great. I think that sounds quite interesting. So, if startups apply by 15th June, what is a broad timeline like? By when do you expect to announce the top 24 or the jury round? And then you said beyond that is about 6 to 12 months of hand holding, right? So, broad timelines, what would that be?
Sure. So the application closed on 15 June, and we are planning to announce the top 100 by last week of July, and the actual startup week where the startups will come and present. That is scheduled from the 9th August to 13th of August. So it's period of 5 days,
Okay,
sector-wise panel, and that's also one of the unique points of startup week is that on the panel you have senior government officials, sometimes even ministers of the department. So, startups can also get a good feedback in terms of what kind of tweaks they have to do in their solution to,
right,
be market ready to become a good solution.
right,
We have people from academia, investors. We also provide opportunities for startups to interact with investors so they can get
right.
some feedback on their pitches.
Wonderful. I
Yeah.
think top 100 startups of the country getting an exposure to pitch to a minister sounds very exciting and quite interesting. And
And
all
not
of this will happen virtually this year, perhaps, right?
yes.
Yes.
And not just that, we provide other opportunities to the top 100, top 20 startups as well. We have a lot of partners like Social Alpha and other incubation partners, which provides incubation support if any startup is looking for it. We have other partners in technology, which are providing cloud credits uh, to enable their solutions, and mentorship. A lot of mentorship is available to top 100 and top 20 startups. So not
Wonderful.
just the work order, outside the work order also we do provide a lot of benefits to the startups.
Okay, so I'm sensing that you have in a way created a community of these MSW startups, top 100 from each batch, and continue to engage with them. They are always open to reaching out to you. So you obviously have a set of partners as well, and we used to work as a partner earlier in while I was with Social Alpha. So no, good to know, and great initiative. You pretty much covered the another question I had was on the value adds that the program provides, and it's good to know that there is engagement beyond the work order itself. Maybe one aspect and a very tick box question, like what has been the impact of COVID to MSW? Because I knew, and you also answered a question on startup. Why is it called Startup Week? Because the whole activity used to happen, sandwiched in that one week where there
Yes.
were value add boot camps plus there were pitches, and I had attended one of them as well earlier in the physical version. So how has COVID changed all of this? And yeah, you want to touch upon that?
Sure. So obviously the COVID has impacted everyone in one way or the other. One benefit of I would say the COVID impact is that everything has moved virtually now, and there's no physical restriction in terms of people moving, coming to Mumbai to present. So it has become easier to organize the pitch sessions and interactions between the startups and the panelists. So also obviously cost reductions, but that's secondary. The main thing is to engage the ecosystem. So that has become really easy for startups because they don't have to plan one whole day to travel to Mumbai and then present. They just need one hour to for their presentation. So obviously that has become easier for us to manage the pitching sessions. One area where we are facing some challenges that some of the solutions which needed physical meetings, physical inspections of the field, that has impacted a bit because of this lack of mobility for the officials and the startup teams. So
Right.
that is one challenge we're
So
facing.
some
So
of these pilots might have been paused or taking a longer period of time, and
yes,
also multiple series of lockdowns. So that also hasn't helped, I guess. Yeah.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
Okay, I think this is a story of all sectors. There are certain tailwinds, there are certain challenges. So I think we need to live with it and make the best of what possibly is a advantage and kind of work around through the challenges. No, I think Dave, this has been super, insightful for me. I mean, although I've been part of MSW since this first edition, while I learned a lot as well in some of the questions that you responded to. So thank you for making time for this interaction. We hope that many startups actually get to know about MSW in a little more detail through this engagement, through this interaction, and apply to MSW. So yes, thank you, Dev, and yes, again to all the readers of our blog as well as watching this video. So Maharashtra Startup Week 2021 edition is live. You heard all the good things about what this initiative brings about. It gives you a single window opportunity to engage with Maharashtra government. So do apply. The last date is 15th June. Details are on the website. You can also rewind back to what some of the criteria and frequently asked questions that they've addressed in this interaction. So do make most of this opportunity and apply to Maharashtra Startup Week. And I would like to end, Dev, by really congratulating you, the team at Maharashtra State Innovation Society, Mithun, Kushwaha sir, and all your colleagues who I share a very good relationship with. So you guys are doing a great job, and also the Maharashtra government is showing a great intent in terms of one bringing innovation into the ecosystem and promoting entrepreneurship through some of these very unique initiatives, I must add. So congratulations and kudos, and keep up that effort, and keep make it easier for startups to work in the with the state. So thank you. Any last thing you want to add, Dev?
Yeah, thank you, Shrikant, for your support. You have always been a great support to our initiatives, and we are looking forward to applications from startups for the startup week and a lot of other initiatives. So
Perfect.
thank you for this opportunity.
So it has always been a pleasure. I really see you guys moving so quick on things, and it's always been a pleasure working with you. I look forward to engaging further as well. Wonderful. Thank you for the time, and good luck with the applications. And we will obviously chat later about the program and all of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dev. Take care. Stay safe.